Well, isn't Jeffree Star Cosmetics having some challenging public relations issues this year? This time last year, the US cosmetics company was celebrating a record-breaking palette release and seemed poised to continue in a one-way direction of success. However, we down here at the pointy end of 2020 know that JSC's far from that champagne-popping giddiness nowadays. And while I don't subscribe to those that gleefully report the brand to now be an utter failure, it must be said that public opinion does not ride nearly so high as it did a mere 12 and change months ago. Now, while 2020 hasn't exactly been anyone's year, when looking for an explanation of JSC's undeniable sales slowdown, we can't point the finger entirely at a certain recalcitrant virus. No. As much as Rona has had a wide-ranging negative effects across all aspects of business, the root of JSC's change in public perception issue is a certain divisive character, well known for his dramatic shenanigans, his severely scripted backstory, and some very, let's say, nasty allegations of some potentially unlawful misdeeds. Of course, I speak of Jeffree Star, who is the creator, figurehead, and ambassador for his eponymous brand, as well as far as can be ascertained, the co-owner. The brand has just turned 6 years old, and its main marketing platform has always been social media. The aesthetic is largely informed by Star's own personal taste, which runs to colourful and flamboyant, with plenty of chintzy gilding. In what's sometimes fondly, sometimes derisively known as the MySpace era, Jalopy Go-Kart discovered that as well as his theatrical impulses, he could also capitalise on certain, let's say, more abrasive aspects of his character, and over the years has refined a myriad of attention-grabbing tactics into a brand identity that for the most part has led to an American dream-style success story for Jeffree Star Cosmetics. However, one of the issues that comes with brands whose owner is also the figurehead and primary marketing tool is the strength with which a brand's financial success and reputation is tied to that of its human counterpart. Like other influencer-created brands, if the public perception of Jeffree Star, the figurehead, the celebrity, the person, takes a dive, there go all the boast-aboutable, humongous sellout launches, the frenzy to acquire new products, and any shiny goodwill built up by JSC, the company. And over the years, the prevailing public sentiment towards our Jasquire has run the gamut of love and hate, all the while dragging the fate of his company behind him. And an honest observer will note that upon each of the last several comebacks from whatever particular scandal was being drummed up, there has of late been a quietly increasing erosion at the deep end of his fan base. First a whisper, but increasing to a level you can hear over a good launch party, and it's looking increasingly like the brand cannot continue to take PR hits to its captain and maintain killer sales. Oh, Jeffree. Oh, Jeffree, Jaffel, Hefty, Fee, Jafar. Oh, Jefferwocky, Lint-free, Giblet, O Star afar. For you, this year has been so hard. Nah, I wouldn't wish the cavalcade of vitriol that Jeffree is subjected to upon anyone. I don't believe it leads to the behaviour change desired, and I don't personally like to get that deep into that kind of energy. But it's also hard to be sympathetic. Joffel Sanger hasn't exactly built his brand around folksy feel-good family values earnestness. In the face of the person he presents himself to be, and the person that we, the public, have come to perceive him to be, well, it's difficult not to spot the gaping chasm between the truth, or whatever that may be, and the carefully constructed, constantly recreative narrative being continually crafted by our Mr. Jingle Stafflewaffle. It's easy to see why some people want to send some of that vitriol. After all, they're clearly dissatisfied, disappointed, and even disgusted. And we all have the right to feel how we feel. And it's perfectly normal for people to want answers to certain questions, to hear a person that they have supported take accountability when things look squiffy, even if the likelihood of that is proven to be statistically zero. And what even is the current brand identity of Jeffree Star Cosmetics? Well, pre-Rona, I thought I could see that where it was trying to head in terms of perception. It appeared to be reaching for another rung up the faux bougie ladder, especially in aesthetic. Trying to be a little posher, a little less garish, kind of maybe Kardashianising might be a bit of an appropriate description. And I thought this because there seemed to be a paring down, a slight refining of the aesthetic, and emphasis on improvements in quality and components, and also a bit of a price hike. So I thought Joff Lolly was trying to widen his appeal by growing up his brand a bit, or at least starting the process. But his shady shock marketing tactics seem to have finally become too widely understood, even expected. And once someone's tactics are known, become too widely used, fall out of favour with the general buying public, or worse, come back to bite them in the real world, these tactics become less effective, less predictably bankable, and it's not clear if Jocular Carbra's put a huge amount of thought into evolving more mature marketing methods and being able to keep appealing to his previous demographics as they age into different wants and needs. And that's not to even mention how he's going to acquire the ever-upcoming younger age groups, whose potentially long-term brand loyalties are so highly competed for. Many challenges indeed. But anyway, as all of us know, the world got the best present ever this year in the form of a brand new cold. And life as we knew it flew out the window and ran away, never to be seen again. Now, I'm not going to go over the multitudinous ways that Rona affected us and the world in general, because that would be a boring and depressing as mouldy fudge video. But it messed up basically everything you could imagine, and then some. Every industry and business sector across the globe, from transport, manufacture, wholesale, retail, and every human area, social, cultural, and we have all had to face individual and personal challenges and change because of it. These impacts cannot be understated, and they must have played some part in some of the changes we've seen in both JSC product launches and the tsunami of public opinion that's crested above the company's head this year. But you'd have to be a lily-livered, pants-on-fire, sideways-faced liar to not place a goodly, nay, generous proportion of responsibility for eroding the public's case of goodwill towards JSC squarely on the shoulders of Jobbity Cockjar himself. He is the shoddy component, the palate cracked. He is the hair in the lipstick. Anyone that cares already knows that Jocular Spectacular was born in November and that his sun sign's Scorpio. Now, nobody is 100% the embodiment of all possible Scorpio traits. It is, after all, only your sun sign, reflective of certain outward aspects of your personal relationship with the world and its greater realities. There are all the other planets, some nodes, and a bunch of other stuff all working together to illuminate and give insight to the querent, and it's not nearly enough to deeply understand the inner workings and outer potential destiny of an entire three-dimensional person using only their sun sign. However, based on his sun sign and combined with our own detached and unemotional observations, we can glean some insights into the enigma that is JEFFREE Berlin's Starklepussy. Firstly, Scorpio is a water sign. Water signs interact with the world largely through the lens of their emotions and will often act straight from their immediate feelings when their status, safety, self or family might be threatened. Loyalty is of high importance, and being emotionally sensitive, they can too easily believe people might have hurt them. The well-balanced, secure water sign makes everyone feel at home and special. They are genuine and love fiercely with depth and loyal intensity. But in the underdeveloped or unguided water signs, this can all get tainted and we can get classic self-obsession, a fragile ego and a tendency to jealousy, and they might brood over their status and how people perceive them. Scorpios are archetypally very sexually overt and expressive. Now, to a largely asexual little gender bender such as myself, this is way too confronting. But I do believe in freedom of sexual expression. And so whilst I can't personally handle it, it doesn't offend me at all that Gisley Lynn is so crass, or that he appears to titillate himself by being so. He appears to be living his idea of an enviable lifestyle and to be entirely comfortable parading an overtly gauche version of nouveau riche, insisting that he's as transparent and unbothered as it gets. Why then is his energy so insecure? Because you don't need more than 2 eyes, a pair of brain cells and a little observation time to see that our Queen of Light Obscene has a few issues keeping it real. And also a penchant for radical offence as defence and some serious deficiencies in impulse control and self-worth. He's pretty easy to trigger. Is he driven by dreams of avenging himself on every person who ever put him down or hurt him or broke his heart or betrayed him through his life? I mean, being insecure isn't a crime. It's more sad than anything, and I can be sympathetic to all of us as we struggle with our insecurities. But the decision to lash out so as to truly hurt and cause damage, to actually try and reduce the targets of your ire to worthless objects only fit for you to dehumanise and diminish, you do understand that that's a mirror to your very soul, Jeffy mate. The part of you that chooses to perpetuate your wounded young self and all its terrible pain by inflicting damage upon another human being so that they too may feel that hurt and insignificance. Well, that's a part we all see and despair of, because many of us too have had to make that choice. And we chose not to perpetuate. It's your choice not to make the world a better, safer place because you're still angry and stuck in the pain energy of your child self. You know, the vibe that Jobby Cock Gobbler gives off that he's a spoilt child that has to get his own way or he'll chuck a monstrous sulk, well, I'm afraid that that's not an act. If you're not smart enough to add to your entourage some personal mentors who are not enamoured of your lifestyle and who are not afraid to tell you no, and if you're not emotionally developed enough to parent yourself in the areas in which your upbringing was deficient, well, you're going to end up with self-absorbed, somewhat hypocritical, overgrown child as your key character trait. Now, we all kind of know that the makeup game in general is having a bit of a struggle, and we don't need influencers to tell us that skincare's where the money's heading. The consumer fatigue is real, and COVID's just ripped the guts out of a lot of people's enthusiasm. People reprioritise disposable income in uncertain times. The market is super saturated with brands, online MUAs are a dime a dozen, and just about all our biggest influencers have proven to be unworthy of any special adulation. We've got plenty of other places to shop. Now, strangely enough, I do kind of identify with some aspects of Jiffy's upbringing and young life. I identify strongly with having a lonely, disjointed childhood, with parental substance abuse and domestic violence, with being aggressively unpopular and bullied and endlessly harassed at all the schools I went to for being different, with having chronic childhood asthma and generally growing up outside society's norms and being part of extreme alternative lifestyles, with being insecure and defensive, and with having deep-seated trust issues. What I don't identify with is choosing to be the kind of person who allows their insecurities and unresolved issues to manifest in ways that seek to diminish and denigrate other human beings. And what I don't identify with is living in a manner as if the universe is not abundant for all its conscious beings, or that there's not enough room for everyone. And I do not identify with tearing others down as a method of self-elevation. You don't seem to live in love, Jeffree. You dip a toe when it's easy, but you don't really comprehend the depths, what it really means to love yourself so that the happenings of life are never subtractive. I believe in a near infinite capacity for redemption, man, and it makes me sad to see any human being failing at it, because the trail of destruction you'll leave behind as you go, it doesn't just disappear when you tire of playing and move on to other things. Jeffree's at his best when holding court in full queen of everything regalia, gracefully accepting adoration from his loyal subjects, with his faceless enemies either locked away down in the dungeon or being eaten by piranhas as his security pokes them off the drawbridge into the moat below. More power to you, mate. It's your life, and if that's the way you want to live it, well, who am I to have an issue with it? But please don't assume that all of us aspire to the same, or that we envy you. Perhaps some people do, but some of us are a little too wise to want anything more than who we are, creating our own version of a well-lived life. To us, You look like you've still got a bit of work to do. Either way, we're all stuck here on the planet together. Learn to share it properly, or you'll end up alone in a trashy sandpit filled with shattered star mirrors and the dust of your once beloved makeup brand. It'll be a sparkly gilt-coloured sandpit, sure, but you'll sparkle alone, and you'll never understand why. The yet-to-be-answered question is whether your acting the court jester will prove to be too much of a liability for your brand's continued financial viability.